stream us on YouTube so that the public could watch if they wanted to or listen. And now it's telling me it is. So, so we may have members of the public listening in, or watching.
Well,
on YouTube.
they say they're listening in on our phones anyway.
Well, this is true.
No privacy.
All right. Let's review succession planning.
Yes. So your bright pink agenda for the special meeting. I thought it would probably be a good time to regroup and remind everybody what we had started doing and what we need to get back to doing. So some of I didn't include all the documents that I've shared to this point, but I brought the ones that I thought were most important. So the outline for planning for the retreat and looking at a consultant, that's, we have paper, it's gray. And then there's a little, we started an education sessions chart so that we could plan for preparing for a strategic planning session and the retreat. And, you know, we're kind of at the place, we had actually scheduled it initially to be, I think it was this May. So we're going to need to target, I think one of the things we need to do tonight is target a new time frame for actually having the retreat. I don't know that, particularly because we're missing several members, that we can, I'm not sure we can arrive upon an exact day, but I think if we can go, second quarter of 2025 or whatever time frame, I think that would be wise for us to kind of look at what we think we want to shoot for. If it helps any, looking at the proposed education plan, you know, if we can do something for the board each month at the board meetings, then I think we could get through what we had planned for by the end of this year. And I did skip a couple of months where I know, well, October, not starting until May, and then October tends to be a really busy month in the library world. And also it seems like that's often a month where we have a lot going on our agenda. So I'm thinking of skipping that month, but I think it's doable. You know, we're gonna have to work to do it, but I do think it's doable. So if we were looking at that and wrapping up with kind of the education piece at the end of this year, or maybe the very beginning of next year, then, you know, I'd really like some ideas about when you think it would be realistic then to try to have all of that information, you know, compiled and ready to use in a session where we're looking at our mission and our vision and our setting up a strategic plan. So fire away.
I know we talked about having like binders that we would build on each month, right?
Did I hand out,
Yes,
did I
you
give
did.
out some plastic ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I got. Was I not hear that? There was,
have a purple plastic.
I don't have a purple plastic.
I do. Yeah, and then when you said that, I remember having it. but-
Okay.
And then each month we would put this stuff in there, right?
Yes,
And then we
yeah.
would all have it
Yeah.
there, okay.
And it's been so long since we did this, I forgot. Do you remember getting a purple? To kind of.
I
Yeah,
don't
some
remember
little
getting
bit,
I
one.
wonder if that was the week that I was sick. Like
I'm trying to
2
think.
weeks
Well,
back.
No,
I missed
no,
It's
I'm
been a
thinking
while.
It's been a while. I
Was
almost
it in
feel like.
Sardinia when were we at Sardinia when they did
Was
it?
it? Yeah.
Sardinia, okay,
So
I was
that-
thinking gonna say Georgetown, but I wasn't sure.
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah, and I would have to look back through to see.
I think I missed the
Do you want me to go see
October
if we have
meeting. Would it have been in October or before then?
Sardinia should have been in December, so going back would have been August.
It would have been August unless we, for some reason, we changed locations. It would have been August and it would have been April, August or.
Yeah,
or
I was
December.
there. Strange.
And I could, I know that it's been a while ago and then we kind of put everything on hold for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, I remember talking about it, I just don't remember receiving one.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, cause it was that bright purple, just like, yeah.
Yeah, not this one, that's an old
Yeah.
paper
It
one,
was-
but that,
it
yeah.
was just like that, kind of a
Yeah.
plasticky, yeah.
Okay.
But
Um,
it's definitely possible, cause I couldn't have told you who else was there.
Well, and I actually look at, and I'm seeing a note
And
on my
August is
June
usually, you're
agenda
right,
from
Tracy, isn't
this
that
past
often a
year
month
saying
you get
with a plastic
conflicts
folder
too?
with a question mark.
Oh, there's-
No,
Yeah.
whether we just.
July or
take it out
August.
or whether it's August.
Yeah. Okay, that's strange.
All right, so,
So we would have these each month, the presentation. And then we would use that information as part of the agenda during the retreat. And the consultant that we hire will kind of work with us. Now, will the consultant be hired in time to be part of these discussions,
well,
May
that's
through
kind
December?
of part of
Okay,
the
okay,
question
okay.
too, is, you know, we could commit to having someone just come and do a retreat. Now, I am pretty sure that anybody who would want to do that would want to have enough background with
Right.
us to really know what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? There is one person,
Yep.
Melissa Kirkpatrick, who is a
have
local
one?
person, a trainer and
This isn't the
educator.
exact purple, but it was,
Close.
It worked.
I think
and then
it's-
I have it online.
Yeah.
He gave a proposal that actually included about 18 months worth of working with the management team, helping out with, you know, the staff and all of that, in addition to doing a retreat and the strategic planning and helping us come out of that with, you know, what are our next steps? And, you know, it was essentially you know, some retainer up front and then some, you know, monthly payments. And, you know, I'm going to have her refresh that quote and talk to us about that, but I think that that would be the most
Yeah.
effective
I
way,
do,
rather
yeah.
than us trying to do it all on our own and not being effective enough to have good end results.
Right, like if we're not looking for someone just to manage the logistics of a meeting,
Yeah.
we're looking for them to take us through a whole
Yeah.
process.
Yes.
So I agree, I think that would be ideal. And I think that would take a lot of the burden off of the staff too, right? Putting her in charge of that.
Well, especially when we're looking at, you know, the fact that half of our management team is brand new. And, you know, one of them brand new to the library system and
Mhm.
doesn't know enough to be able to, you know, really give the support. Might be great
Yeah.
in, you know,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. So we need to get a new quote from her.
well, and that's kind of on this list too, and, you know, even though it's in the order that it has
Oh,
been
sorry.
all along, it doesn't make any difference, because to me, this is like a bowl of spaghetti, right? You know, one topic feeds into
Right.
another, touches another, and so, that's why I said, you know, part of it is looking at what could we realistically do in terms of education before a retreat, and then, you
Right,
know, how do we look at a consultant? And, you know, is actually kind of one of my questions is, do we want to target next month for having, you know, Melissa come and do a 15-minute presentation, you know, along with her proposal? And if I can get somebody else to do that as well, then we have 2
Mhm.
interviews.
Right.
You should check with OhioNet. I think that they have a program specifically for that.
I was gonna say, I know the NEO, Northeastern Ohio Regional Library System has one. It's on that gray sheet, it's item number 2, and it's letters B and C. OhioNet does, I know that they're in transition, they're looking for one of their key
Executive director.
executive director right now, and so, where they might be in the process, I don't know, but then NEO also does that as part of their executive director does that now.
Let me look and see.
OhioNet's in Columbus, right, and in Columbus area, and, NEO is Northeast
Way
Ohio, way up there. So, you
Melissa,
know,
she's local.
Melissa's local.
So
Not good enough.
here's my thought process. I feel like the first step we need to take is getting someone on board. Because I feel like if we hire Melissa, she may have a different approach than this.
Mhm,
And she may have a different timeline to the retreat. And
mhm.
so rather than have energy focusing on, yeah, we're gonna do this, this and this, we're gonna have the retreat on this date. Let's wait, get someone hired and then let them kind of lead us in the timeline. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That way we don't have to
Yeah.
like work, cause she may come and be like,
That's-
no, we're gonna do this something different. Or this is not realistic,
Well,
or let's do this, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
and so then we've wasted our time.
Cause I was gonna say, I felt like next month, we need to focus on bringing in another board member before we really, we need to get Tabitha and whoever comes on kind of the same as, you know, our new, branch manager.
My time is up this summer,
Okay,
and at my age, I think you need somebody younger.
well, I wasn't gonna say anything. I know.
Because I'm getting the big 85.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
I
I'll
would not
be,
have guessed that.
I'll be 85 next month.
Oh, next month. I was thinking it was October. for
March.
some reason. March, okay.
Which one?
Okay,
Can
so
you believe that?
maybe 2 board members then.
I think it probably, you know, at my age, you'd probably be best to get you a younger board member.
I don't know, there's benefit to both, right? I mean,
Yes.
young idea, younger people, different perspectives, but then you look
Well, I
at
have
the
old
history.
ideas and you don't always agree with me, so.
But sometimes
Maybe
you
you
also
need
can tell
somebody.
us what we've done
That nobody else. would
nobody else
remember.
knows about too.
I know, but you don't listen to me, so
Well, that's
the world has changed.
The world has changed. So am I? What
Can we
I
do that
guess,
in tandem? Can we get her hired
Get her hired, right,
and do the board?
but I'm thinking
member?
like, get her hired with the idea of April, yeah, you know, like
starting it.
focus in March on, you know, hopefully
A board
interviewing
member.
and bringing on at least one board member, you're not till
Oh, yeah.
June.
Yeah, we've got some
Um,
time with you, so we're not letting you go yet.
Have
No
you,
way.
you know, I don't know if, Pat Burwald was interested. Remember I gave you her name? She's a retired teacher.
Teacher, okay, I was thinking about that list on the paper that we had, but I think she came up after we did that first round.
But most of them that was on that paper backed out.
There were,
Yeah,
yeah,
And some of them that didn't really don't have the background for library.
What region is
Fayetteville.
Sue?
both of
Fayetteville?
them would be Fayetteville.
Both would be,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so you and Sue were both Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought you were Fayetteville.
So,
Both of them would be Fayetteville.
Yeah.
yes.
we're gonna have to beat the bushes, I think.
I don't know anybody in Fayetteville other than present company excluded.
Yeah.
I s-
So help me be clear about them, what we're kind of talking about. So are we talking about definitely having part of me is concerned that if if we continue to have to search for trustee, then we're pushing the succession planning farther and farther away. And I think that there's a lot of work that the right consultant can be doing with the
Yes.
staff and the
Yeah.
management team.
You can go ahead and get
First,
them on board, yeah.
Right, I thought what Tina said about doing things in tandem
Mhm.
totally made sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So what would our target be then, if we're looking at what needs to be accomplished next month, are you saying?
I would like to get a quote proposal from Melissa and Ohio Net, maybe, right? Have some presentations we can discuss next month and then make a decision by March to get them on board. But at the same time, could we start the process of finding a board member as well to kind of get them someone in place by April, I would say would be
Mhm.
a good time frame, right? Because you could get her or HireNet hired in March, get a new board member on by April, and then we'd be ready to, and that would give a
Because
month for her to start
It would
working
be
with the
nice
staff.
if anybody, if we did do something, even if it wasn't exactly this, but if we did do something where we were doing some presentations and background to make sure we're all on the same page, it'd be
Mhm.
nice to
Right.
have them here
Oh,
on
right.
and presented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one from Fayetteville that really could have been good would have been Chuck Bates. But I think he thought there was more time involved than there really is. So if you talk to him, maybe he would understand that.
Yeah. So,
Lynn,
yes.
just a quick aside. So I looked on the OhioNet website and they have consulting services. I sent you a little, I don't know if it's a link or whatever. I just forwarded the page I was on, so I don't know what it's gonna look like when you get it. But they have, it is not the executive director or the previous executive director who was heading that up. There are two separate consultants and I happen to know they all work from home. So there could be people that are closer to here
Nice.
than.
Like a regional.
But if I were you, Lynn, I would reach out to him because there's a great background there. His dad was the former superintendent.
Yeah, actually, I had a very long conversation with him, and so it might be one of those things that I actually kind of go back to the list and say, hey, we're looking again, have conditions changed, do you want to consider?
And sometimes you plant that seed and there, I once had, I don't know if you remember Tom, can't think of his last name now, but he told me once it's a lot easier to say no and think about it and change your mind than it is, because
Yes.
once you say
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
I think he thought there would be more time involved
Mhm,
than there really is.
mhm.
And,
So
but he's
realistic,
got an excellent background.
it may be possible for me to arrange for, Melissa and one other or two other, my guess would be that perhaps if we asked for a presentation, both from the OhioNet people and the NEO people, they might want to do it virtually.
That's fine.
So if that's the case, it's actually probably a little bit easier to, maybe have them all in one evening, and make the special meeting in March a little bit longer. You do a 6 to 7 and we get all those done. I don't anticipate there's gonna be a lot on the agenda in March, but I don't know. You never know, right? When things crop up. And then that would buy us time to, talk to people about potential trustee to do that for April. And then, it also, if you're undecided about, a consultant, then we've also got some time to do more discussing about that as well.
So we would look at interviewing the consultants in March, right? And then bringing on a board member in April.
I would say that the interviews would have to be in April.
Okay, so
yeah.
March interview consultants, April interview board members.
Yeah, just knowing what else is going on, because there are at least 2 weeks in there. I'm going to be gone for a week, to take care of aging parents, well, Friday. And then in April, early April is the Public Library Association conference, and that's gonna basically eat up a whole
Mhm.
week, so, yeah, I can't see doing that any more quickly.
Yes, I think those should be are probably our main concerns, and then the rest of this will fall out of whoever we hire.
Yeah. Travis has said she got a purple folder. She just has to find it.
She got a purple folder.
So when did she come on? In June? So it must have been
Yeah,
August
must have been
then, or,
August.
yeah.
So just I feel like the dates in my brain are muddled, even though you just said it.
No, you're right.
Just one more time.
So March.
March.
Special meeting, we would probably actually make it an hour, maybe we do 6 to
Mhm.
7, and we would do consultant
Interview.
interviews.
Okay,
And then April, we
Uh-huh.
would target for trustee interview.
okay, so we'll do interviews, starting at 6, go till they're done, start our meeting and do a regular meeting, and then the next month, hopefully, we've got somebody hired. And we're in that month in between trying to find somebody to come on the board.
Yes, yeah, because a consultant could start by working with the staff and helping to prepare all these things and
Yes.
coming up with a plan for a potential time frame for a
Mhm.
retreat and all of that, and that would not require, or we wouldn't really need, the trustee position filled at that point, because that would be a lot of their work.
Perfect, thank you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that's good. And so do we have potentially that's 2 months to find a candidates for the trustee? Is that doable?
Well, that's why I say, I'm gonna be gone, I mean, there are 2 weeks out
Yeah.
of that time frame, right, that are already gone. And we've got a staff development day coming up in, before April, so, if I can start with the prior list.
Okay.
And
Reach
then
out to them.
check with
Start,
people,
Yeah.
and then also, we've got the addition of Pat Burwald, right?
Mhm.
And then I could also, see if there's anyone else that the staff could think about at that time. For another option. And I think we might want to be ready to consider potentially putting some kind of an advertisement out. Cause it might get to places that,
I know you're involved with the chamber. Is there anybody at the chamber that you could reach out to or post to?
I could potentially, I'm thinking the Kileys might know some people. I think they themselves are so busy doing other things that I don't know that they would commit, but, I know they're both library supporters and they might know somebody.
Yeah, just drop a pin.
Yeah, I know, I'm trying to think. Kathleen's who, like you say, that's who I know from Fayetteville.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought, Chuck, it'd be nice to have another guy on the board.
Mhm,
It would.
mhm.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I bet if I reached out to Maureen or Denny, Kylie, they probably.
I would reach out to Maureen
Yeah.
before I would Denny.
Denny. I probably get a quicker response from Maureen anyway, so yeah. Okay.
Maureen's living in Montgomery now, though.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know they're divorced?
No, I did not. See, I'm not
That's
up on
why
all
I
the
said
stuff.
I'd reach out to
Okay,
Maureen.
gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Okey dokey. So what else do we need to be thinking about then? So if we're gonna not worry about a time frame for the retreat yet, yeah, obviously, we're not gonna worry about a
agenda.
location yet. Content, we kind of know some of the education
Mhm.
pieces, but I really am counting on a consultant
Yeah.
to help us.
Flesh that out.
Set that up.
Yeah, set that up as well. We do know what we want to come out of this, we need a strategic plan, we want to refresh, and update our mission and our vision and our values, and so, I think we've got a good framework for a consultant, and just reaching out to them and telling them what we want them to do in March, and other than that, I have not introduced the whole concept of succession planning to my new managers. They've only been on the job for 2 weeks. So we're doing really basic things right now.
Ease into it, yeah.
But it's not, it will not be a surprise to them because everyone I interviewed up front, I was very clear that I'm hiring you, it's my job to make sure this happens. But I'm retiring, and if you plan on being around, we're in the process of changing, so you're in a great position to come in and, put your
Yes,
fingerprints and,
yeah.
yeah, exactly, so they just haven't been introduced to this whole big process that we're doing now, but one of the things that, because we've shifted our time frame, I was looking at possibly as early as the middle of this year, seeking an outside location for the business office, so we could start working on that part of the transition and making space and all. But I think we need to be spending our money on a consultant. And so that is something that we'll be pushing off till an office space till next year
As
sometime.
long as they're good consultants.
Well,
That's what we're gonna
that's
interview.
how you're gonna interview. You're gonna see who you like, who
Because
you think you can
sometimes they get
trust.
so full of themselves, they're not really good.
Yeah, we need them to really
know,
understand who we are.
Just speaking, like, I don't know the other libraries, but, Fayetteville, I was just kind of shocked with all the renovations and the history that we have of John Ruthven, that they didn't put his pictures back up in the library. John Ruthven
Mhm.
is the history for the
Oh,
entire,
yeah.
even overseas, even at the president, he did a portrait of
Mhm.
George and Laura Bush.
Mhm, mhm,
And down going out of Milford on that wall,
mhm,
oh my goodness, that whole wall is painted.
mhm.
He always called me his Chatfield girl.
That's cool.
Well, when I was up there within the last 6 weeks or so, I
mentioned it to him.
well, and you had brought it up, I think, at some other point, and so I actually specifically asked, and there were a lot of, when they took everything down and painted, and of course, this was right
2020.
before COVID hit,
Yes,
and so I think there were lots of things that were just
Mhm.
not redone, but I said, yeah, those things, these are really important. You need to,
Mhm.
get Keith to come and put them up and,
Yeah.
so.
there's even one from when they used to do the, what was the boats,
Tall stacks.
tall stacks.
Mhm.
We got one, we did some cooking down there, and he came in and he gave each one of us a picture because he said we were the most welcoming group.
Wow.
And he did a picture of tall stacks, and each one of us, I had mine framed and I donated to the library.
Wow. That's awesome.
Super cool.
One
What a man.
One question that I wanted to ask too, like as far as the goals are we gonna look at too, kind of like a growth plan and kind of like marketing and outreach as part of like the whole strategic planning? Was that part of it?
Well, we haven't really identified the elements that'll come out in a strategic plan, but I
Okay.
would think that
That
would be one of them.
because
Yes.
I could see, like, I'm just thinking in my head, right? So if we hire someone in April and that would get us to the end of 26 and we could do a rebrand launch at the beginning of 27, like that would set us up for that like 18-month time frame.
Mhm.
Or if you were going on a 12-month, because summer reading is such a big thing, like that would be the perfect time to announce a relaunch, like a rebrand. Get the media out there and.
Well, and I do think, those are all very specific, objectives that you put under,
Yeah.
your major goals. in
Yeah,
your-
I
in
just
your
wanna make
strategic
sure
plan,
that's
but
something like that
I
in
think
my
that-
interest, yeah.
I think that's and I think that's one of those things that needs to come out of a retreat is
Mhm.
when it's not SWOT anymore. What do they call it? SOAR, strengths, opportunities, something and
Did they
something.
change it?
A&R.
still
There's,
call it-
I know,
still
I
call
call
it
it SWAT
SWAT.
too, but
Oh,
I've
that's
seen
cool.
SOAR.
SWAT?
Yeah,
I don't-
SWOT, strengths,
School.
weaknesses, opportunities and threats.
Yeah.
But SOAR, SOAR is strengths, opportunities, and I forget the A and the R. But it's the same, it's kind of the
Yeah.
same concept. And I think that that's where she's looking up good, as a board, need to really help along with whatever is done at the staffing level, because they're on the front lines.
Right.
They see and hear what the patrons want and can make sure that we're not just thinking internally. And so I think that that's one of those things that will come out is.
Yeah.
Marketing is really
It's
an
a huge- it
opportunity
is
for us.
very much a-
And we need to make it
A priority,
part,
yeah. Well, and if I were a consultant, like I would incorporate the staff into these different buckets.
Yeah.
So, if you have some of your staff that's really good and interested in the marketing, put them on that task force, do a finance task force, do an operations. And kind of give them ownership and bought into the whole process
Yeah.
too, and kind of make them, and which is kind of the goal here, right, with the educational piece.
Absolutely,
So,
yes,
But,
absolutely.
bringing all the staff in and giving them an opportunity to shine through the
Yes.
area that they want to focus on.
Yep. So I have 6:36. I didn't know if you had to watch. I know that, okay.
We were still.
No, you're
winding
fine.
up
I just was thinking, I know that
so-
that clock up there wasn't very.
No, it
so.
No, this is all.
So, I guess there's not really anything else we need to go over because I think we have the plan for moving forward. We know that in March, we want to have the consultants do their, presentations and, do the interviewing. And then April, we'll target for the, Fayetteville trustee position and, see what we can come up with from that. And then it'll be a whole new ballgame once a consultant is on board, because
Yes.
any plans we might have had might be out the window.
Yeah, they need to be like, we're doing
Well,
something
don't wanna-
completely
I
different,
guess
right?
I'm ready. Tell me what to do,
Right.
right?
And that's
Absolutely.
why we're gonna pay them, right? Let
Yes.
them tell us.
What did you think that was?
SOAR, strengths, opportunities.
SOAR is teaching and learning method. I have select, organize, associate, and regulate now. There's several different, yeah.
Definitely not that. It
No.
wasn't that, but, okay. So I think we have a plan for,
Heather wanted me to.
All right. So, well.
And I-
Next, we're going into our regular board meeting. Immediately followed, then next month, we have our special meeting to be followed by a records commission meeting and then a regular board meeting in Fayetteville. But first, we're going to have our regular meeting here tonight.
yes.
So the records, are you gonna meet before 6 o'clock then?
No,
Are we
so
gonna
we'll
do
do
that?
we'll do a special meeting and then the records commission takes a minute and a
No,
half.
okay, so that'll like be in
So,
between.
Yeah.
Heather told me I texted her
No, come in. Well, and I was gonna say, if you need to officially adjourn, then I can actually pause the recording and
Yeah.
whatever else.
We're
as
adjourned.
well.
I put 6:36.
Yes.
All right, so we're adjourned then, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
For sure.
But that way, if anybody wants to take a break and have it come in and.
Do you want to do a gavel? I was like,
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, their board meeting had gotten moved, so he didn't have one tonight.
Oh.
Somebody was gonna be on vacation this week and so they moved it to accommodate that.
Accommodate that there wasn't a gavel.
No, to accommodate these.
Somebody not being there.
Someone not being there, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now we'll call to order for our regular meeting.
Barb,
Here.
Kathleen,
Here.
Tracy.
Here.
Tina.
Here.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see. Huh? I did not see anyone else try to enter virtually.
Yeah.
So I think we're fine there. I don't see, and I was actually just checking to see whether I had gotten any messages from
I didn't
any
even
staff
see that.
members saying, where are you, or how do I get in, or. But I
Yeah,
don't.
no, it says closed, but the doors.
Well, I unlocked it so that
Right.
people could come in, so. yes. I
I'll
don't
go
know if they are.
investigate.
All right, you go investigate and see where those staff members are. Tell them they're holding up the works here.
They're like, do we go in? Do we not?
Do we
go
get-
in?
exactly.
What do we do?
Right, that's kind of what I
Yes.
was wondering. Am I gonna interrupt something? No.
No, not gonna do that. Yep.
I was following directions.
Oh, no. Now I'm gonna be in trouble. Hey, come on.
Hi.
in.
Hello. That's a great.
I love
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
I had my phone in my pocket so I wouldn't miss it, but I had my vibration, I usually have my vibration.
Hi, I'm Tina.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
meet you.
Do you go by Wes or Wesley?
Wes.
Wes, okay.
Okay. I'm
Nice
Barb.
to meet you. I'm Tina. Nice to meet you.
Oh, sorry.
She has cat book earrings, cat little
Sure.
clear.
Oh, let
glass.
me see.
My favorite things. Cats and
Oh,
books.
I love those.
That's fine.
They're cute.
I'll let you know if my ear falls off tomorrow.
So, did you all have any questions you wanted to ask our new, so Wes is our Sardinia manager and
Okay.
Brooke is our Fayetteville manager.
Yes.
And-
And be seeing you next month and
Yeah.
you the month after, yes.
Some of you I've seen before, it's some of the other things I've had to fit in on
Yes.
board stuff briefly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Sardinia is my home library, so you will probably seen us a lot. My son Pierce is an 8th grader and he's very involved with a lot of activities, so we stay involved. So we love Sardinia. So we're excited to have you on board.
So you going to the pizza party
It
there
has an
next
extra
week?
agenda, so.
Probably. Is it on Monday?
What we're doing
I
here.
think it's next Wednesday.
Oh, is it on Wednesday? Well, if it's on Wednesday, he has youth group, so he might miss it. But he has his tutoring on Mondays with Dan, who's amazing, by the way. I have to tell you a side story. He texted me the other day and he said, you know, if there's anything else you want me to work on with Pierce, just let me know, like speaking skills, etiquette, whatever you want. And I was like,
That's like a full service.
sure, like go for
Uh-huh.
it. So he's gonna I know, he's gonna work with him on like speaking skills because, yeah.
That's neat.
So you guys, kudos for finding Dan, he's amazing. But yeah, so he has tutoring on Mondays and then he usually stays for the team program after that, so. Yeah. So are you guys from this area? You from
Yeah,
Brown County?
I actually grew up between Blanchester and Fayetteville.
Okay,
My family has been in the Fayetteville region for a very long time. I don't even know how long. My dad and mom both grew up there
Okay.
and graduated from Fayetteville Ferry High School and did some traveling around. I actually didn't go to school at Fayetteville. I was homeschooled most of my career.
Mhm.
And then moved way out of state for college.
Okay, where did you go to school?
I went to school at Ouachita Baptist University,
Okay, where is that?
which is in Arkadelphia, Arkansas.
Okay.
It all
I was gonna say,
sounds
I've never
very
heard of it.
fake.
No, it's real. I've never heard of it, yeah.
Fantasy novel.
Yeah.
It does, it
That's
does,
crazy,
it does.
yeah.
But yeah, so I graduated from there and moved back and worked for a while and my alma mater actually offered me a job down there, so I worked down there for a while. And then ended up making my way back and I found myself at the library and here I am.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So, yeah, we always tend to come home, right?
We do.
Same
do.
for me. We came back about 4 years ago. So how about you?
My mother's side of the family is from this area. My
Nice.
father's is actually from eastern Kentucky, near Louisa, or near the Huntington, West Virginia area. Sort of that tri-state sort of connection.
Yeah, my mom's from McGoffin County,
Okay, yeah.
so I know
yeah.
Louisa really well.
Yeah.
Christiansburg.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I was gracious enough to get a full ride scholarship through the Robinson Scholars, if anybody's familiar with some of the Appalachian outreach programs. The primarily help low income and sort of distressed or lack of influence in certain areas to try to help 29 different people, used to anyway, to get full ride scholarships. They've watered it down a little bit to help generally more people and all that, but I went to the University of Kentucky after graduating from high school. It was an interesting ride. Got my degree in creative writing, English specifically, and then went to get a graduate certificate in book publishing
Oh, nice.
from the Denver Publishing Institute. They talk quite a bit to us about the industry and books in general. The unfortunate thing with my sort of story path was that happened right before COVID broke out.
Oh,
So
wow.
I wasn't really interested in relocating to one of the larger metropolitan areas like Chicago, New York, LA. So I ended up sort of fielding different job offers back home, doing some different contract work.
Mhm.
But largely I ended up working through the school system as a substitute teacher before eventually moving in with the post office for the past 3 years, and that's sort of where I've been.
Was that up here or down?
That was here, yeah.
That was up here.
Everything from the substitute teaching on was here in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, after I received my education there in Denver, came back here. My mom had moved back up to this region to be closer to her family
Yeah.
and sort of he helped her along. She helped me along in different ways there, and we sort of just made things work that way. And yeah,
That's awesome.
was here for the past 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, so we're thrilled to
Yeah.
have someone with new, fresh eyes
Yeah.
and also
Mhm.
someone who we could promote from within. I mean, that's one of the goals that we have is developing our staff. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited, and they're back after 2.5 weeks of doing, of learning, beginning to learn how to do this. So I'm really excited about that.
How is it so far, you guys? I mean, not that you can really say it's horrible, right? But-
Oh, they can. I get no respect, you know.
You've got a pretty good staff there, don't you?
Yes, we have a wonderful staff at Fayetteville who have all been there for quite some time. We do have one that's a little bit new-ish still. But we all work really well together as a team and have really been able to just work together, get everything worked out, and we're still planning summer reading program right now too, so I'm still kind of doing some of that with them. We're tag teaming all of that, trying to get everything taken care of, so otherwise, it's pretty good. It's busy, kind of as I expected, and it's good.
Mhm.
Stay strong with the friends.
Yes, we do have a very strong and passionate friends group. And they're really excited and eager to help, but sometimes they get a
They
little.
kind of go, they think they're the manager and you're.
Um,
Well,
They try to take
sometimes
over.
they get a little excited, so we gotta kinda,
You gotta rein them in.
They're
Yes.
passionate.
they are very
They're very
passionate.
passionate. right?
And so we gotta sometimes say, all right, guys, hold on, let's slow down a little bit, and, you know, this is what we have to do, and the rules that we have to follow, and, you know, then they kinda back down a little bit, so, but they're good, they're passionate and excited, and I love that, so.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different,
Mhm.
for Wesley coming in brand new. I mean, you have the
Mhm.
challenge of transitioning into a new
Mhm.
role and everybody understanding that, but
Building, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
yes.
ma'am.
But, you know, coming in and having to learn the entire library system poses its own challenges, and I think I asked Wes, last week, whenever it was, that the three of us got together for a
Mhm.
session, was, you know, what's been the most unexpected? Or I think initially it was, you were surprised at how busy,
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
activity was going on in
Yeah.
the building, but now what? You know, a week and a half later, what's the next, you know, new thing?
Mhm.
I think, sort of just, trying to navigate sort of the processes in general and all that has been, very, very eye-opening in terms of, I didn't understand from an outsider's perspective, just how many different parts actually work to make the machine, well-oiled functioning without, puffs of smoke coming up and making everything sort of, like, what happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, puffs of smoke is much better than flames.
Yeah, yeah.
Lights.
I'm trying to make sure that we see it from the offset, that way we don't have the, but yeah.
Well, and I think that's, it's important to recognize that. So as a leader and a manager, right, you've got a good support system underneath you that knows the cogs in the wheels, right? So that can allow you to focus on the strategy and the overarching mission, right? So when you've got a good support team underneath you, then you can kind of focus on what you need and knowing that they're going to keep the operation going. So it sounds like you guys, you have that already in place, so, which is awesome.
So I told Wes and Brooke that, they are not obligated to stay for the entire meeting. So if they have other things, they certainly should just excuse themselves. There's no problem with that. But I think it's also important you weren't here when, so we have the meeting on Zoom and we've got one of our, board members who is ill. She's listening, but can't officially participate. Another board member had actually a work commitment. So you see the four that are left around the table here. But we also broadcast our meeting, through YouTube Live. So there may be members, other staff members, or there may be members of the public who can participate and listen that way. So even though there's not anyone here in the room, there might be someone out there listening. So just gonna put that up there.
I'm staying because my chum leader just keeps grumbling.
Yeah.
Please don't noisy.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you again. I'll come on over here to you guys. Good to see you again. No, you too.
Library in the conference room.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I have one.
I'll be seeing you soon.
Yes.
So Tabitha said that Brooke has always been a great help to Kate when he was looking for new books.
Tabitha's on there? I was hoping to see her tonight. I love her. So, oh, I think I'm in the corner there.
Yeah. I figured maybe you'd been-
Hi, Brooke.
Tabitha. Oh, you
Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I have COVID and strep.
Oh, no.
Who's listening in? What kind of a dedicated board member is that,
Love
right?
you.
So good. Thank you. Get better soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
No other public, what, yeah, they're not public.
No, the public present in person, right?
Right. So. Now, ready for approval of the minutes of the January Records Commission, the regular board meeting minutes, and the February emergency board meeting minutes.
I'll move
I'll
for
second.
the Records Commission, regular board meetings, and then February emergency.
And I'll second.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Yes.
Correspondence.
Correspondence, so I gave you paper this evening. Public Library Fund, you can see the numbers coming in, our share of February's, just, over $87,500.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. February historically tends to be a bit higher than some of the other months. And that's actually from a legacy, the way a different funding, before funding mechanism got changed. And so they just kind of, yeah, it's too complicated anyway, but, it's that way. And, the state the Department of Taxation is saying, well, revenues are coming in a little under projections, but everything's still good. So, I would say we wait till the middle of the year and then things are trending downward, then we take a look at things. I'm not worried about a couple of percentage points at this point in time. I did get a copy of a thank you note that, Eastern Middle School seventh graders gave to Heather, for participating in the Escape to Your Future activity. So that was good. Thank you for your time to assist with Escape to Your Future career stations at EMS, Eastern Middle School. We learned a lot about career exploration and opportunities. We appreciate you.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was very nice, handwritten,
Yes, that was
handwritten little
nice.
note. And then I did send a letter, so it was very interesting. I got a physical letter from UBS Financial, which, was it USB? All of a sudden. No, USB is
Yeah.
okay.
Could be on.
Well, don't you hate it when you second guess yourself? UBS Financial, because they are the organization that held some of the library foundations accounts. It had its investment account. And I got a letter on the 15th of February saying, you have to tell us by February 19th what you want to do with this money. Okay, first of all, February 19th was a bank holiday.
Yeah.
Right, so
Mhm.
nobody's doing anything, right? So, but it was one of those, I was able to make contact with them because we had already been working on establishing access to the account. So we could put the money into our local people's savings account.
Is this being, like, the whole financial services being dissolved?
The company is not dissolving. I think they're just clearing out accounts that are not doing anything.
Gotcha. Okay,
It's my suspicion.
okay.
And so, I was allowed to submit a letter of, requesting the liquidation of those funds. And so I am expecting, because I did get confirmation
Okay.
to receive the letter, that whatever their time frame is, they're only gonna do a paper check. They will not electronically send the money. But it's what it is. So there may be a check arriving, and my best guess is that could be anywhere between $50,000 and $80,000.
And they're not gonna send a check.
And they want to send a
So
check.
weird.
But that guess is based upon what my last known balance was, and we haven't taken any money out, so just kind of looking at, well, stock markets have been, doing, they up and down, but, trending back up, so. We are going to have to decide what to do with that.
Do we
Right.
track this in our financials anywhere?
No, because it's not the library's money right now, it's still the foundation's money, but the
Oh,
foundation doesn't exist anymore.
Gotcha.
So,
The foundation's been dissolved.
yes, so
Okay.
it's like unclaimed funds, but we can claim them.
Well, that pays for a part of our property.
Well, or something,
The
and
renovation.
that's what we need to decide. We will need to decide what to do, because if we also, I think it would also be wise to close out the local savings account, because the foundation's not doing anything.
Is there what's sitting in savings? Do we know?
$7,000?
Since and this is where legal stuff comes in that I don't know anything about, do we have to get representation to act on behalf of the dissolved trust or
No, because
foundation?
fortunately, I am a named
Okay,
officer.
so you have full
So I
rights
can.
to invest
I have,
without,
you
don't have to,
my
like-
name is somewhere enough that I can sign for something.
you don't have to stand on a street corner and say, we have this money and we're putting it here.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's something we're going to want to make sure we report in the library's, record. that
Yes.
We do it.
Yeah.
But this is where it would be the most appropriate thing to set up a special fund, because this money there was a purpose for it, under the foundation. Doesn't mean we have to do the exact same thing, but I think it would be appropriate to decide what a special fund in the library that is funded through this, what do we do with that money, and set some parameters for how we use this money, and not just have it
Just
immediately
land there.
disappear. Right, I don't want it to immediately disappear. I think that, you know, it's a good chunk of money and we should set it aside and then set some guidelines about how we use that money.
I mean, in full honesty, it's very timely with the purchase of the property.
It is.
And you could justify and say, we're using the foundation money for the purchase and renovation of that land with a match, right? So let's say it's 75,000, we said up to 150, right?
Mhm.
So we say 75 and we matched it for this project.
I'm not sure that, I'm ready for the board to make a
Yeah.
decision. I think that we need to come up with some, you know, some really clear things. I will say that the foundation was set up to do things that the library property could not do. And I'd hate to see us spend the money on things that are typical standard stuff like that. I would much rather, I personally, one of the things the foundation supported was staff training and staff
Okay.
recognition, and we
Okay.
don't have a lot of money for that in the operational funds. So that's one of the things that's kind of at the top of my head of possibilities, you know, and I think that, you know, I'm going to try and come up with a list of potential things,
Okay.
which can include that.
What
But-
about the strategic planning? Would that be part of the foundation?
it could be, I think.
Like it's staff related,
Mhm.
kind of, right?
Mhm. So, but that, just so that you're all thinking about this, we are going to need to, when that money is here, we're going to have to set up a special fund for it. Yeah. And then as far as Ohio Library Council information, we were thrilled that one of the things that, OLC developed was a relationship with Amazon, and Amazon Business Prime is now going to be a part of our membership dues. Yay, $1,299 annual,
Oh, wow. That's a nice benefit.
value is what that
That's
is.
a good benefit.
And we will get things like, discounted pricing of 15%, fast free shipping, pay by invoice options rather than always having to use our credit cards for doing that. Additional discounts on certain items. We all do tax exempt, but sometimes we have to really, you know, there are times when there are just times when things don't work the way they're supposed to. And a dedicated customer service advisor, because
Wow.
if you've ever used Amazon, you know you can't get hold of a human being, right? So that will be a really nice plus for us, and they're doing a webinar, and our Megan, our office administrator, will be participating in that. Another thing that's come across recently is that at the state level, the Senate has a one-time strategic funding initiative, and there are about $350 million for things like building projects, renovations. Of course, you have to fill out an application, of course, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And of course, the webinar they had on that conflicted with the meeting I was in yesterday, so I'm gonna be able to watch that. I don't know the likelihood, you know, if there are all kinds of public entities vying for this money. Could we get any? I'm not sure, but
Could we put it with the money we already have for the Fayetteville expansion? Sardinia? Or Sardinia,
Sardinia
that's what I mean.
expansion?
Okay.
well, and I don't know. Without having watched this webinar yet, I don't know if there are things that they want like this close to shovel ready.
Mhm. Yeah.
If some of it could be used for planning purposes, that I'm not sure about at this point in time.
Is it
But
exclusively for libraries or?
it is not
other
exclusively
state-
for
okay.
libraries. It is, we're allowed to apply for it, but I don't see here where, but I'm pretty sure it's any government
Government
entities that are eligible. Yeah. Yeah. But at least Ohio Library Council they want to know what we're applying for and they will help advocate for it. So that's good, right? I don't know if any of you are aware of LinkedIn Learning, if you have ever used that resource. It is going away at the end of June. It was one of the databases or services that was provided at the state level, free, through public libraries. And I'm not sure if they experienced the same thing that we did, but we saw our usage of that by our patrons drop by 50% over the last 2 years. And so I suspect that's one of the reasons they're not going to be renewing it. We do have some other services that will actually help take the place of that in different ways. Our North Star Digital Literacy is on the digital literacy part of learning. Help Now is, of course, is the tutoring and learning side of it, and Job Now is job training resources. So I think we have it pretty well covered. And I think that's what we decided at the manager meeting, unless you remember something.
And we were have some people looking at GCF Global.
Thank you. GCF Global was the other one. I knew there was one more. All right. What else? Oh, trustee workshop, library trustee workshop. Ohio Library Council holds one of these every year. If you're interested in going, it's March 9th this year. It's a full day. That's a Saturday. You can also do it all online if you want to do it all online. So if you're interested, let me know. We'll get just to register for that.
When you say online, does that mean live streamed or you just go through the information online?
It's,
On
it's,
demand.
it's live stream. Yeah. Virtual.
I went last year and I learned a lot,
Lot.
being new.
Yeah.
I learned a lot last year, so.
Yeah, I would say it's probably a refresher for people who've been on the board for a while, although they might update you on things that have changed. And definitely good for,
Mhm.
new library trustees. And then the last thing that I want you to be aware of, back at the end of January, there were 2 bills, one in the Senate and one in the House, that were proposed to eliminate Ohio's income tax. One of those would be the personal income tax and the other would have been the commercial activity tax or the CAT tax. And both of those plans in those bills phase down the rates with a full phase out by 2030, which is not that far away. I mean, that's a little over 5 years away. So why does that mean anything to us? Because the general revenue fund is made up of state taxes. And I believe that the personal income tax alone makes up about 40% of the general revenue.
Why would they propose to get away with such an income driver for the state?
Okay, I read about this.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
I'm like, what?
Texas,
Florida.
Florida, and there was, I think, at least 2 others.
Mhm.
New Hampshire has no income tax.
Okay.
No income tax.
But what it is bringing in businesses.
Yeah.
It's a big driver. That's why Texas has become a hot spot. California, a lot
Gotcha.
more places, a lot more
Okay.
businesses are going to Texas. Despite some of the other issues that are going on in Texas. Because of the lack of income tax. As a plus for any employees coming in. To attract
So I
talent.
wouldn't have to pay Ohio income tax on my paycheck.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Right.
see, and this looks really good to the voters, and so you
Right.
also have to think about the
Right.
timing of it.
Well,
It's-
interesting
it's
because,
campaign
my husband passed away a little over 3 years ago. So when he was alive, he got $2,700 a month. His retirement from Ford was $3,000. So when he passed away, I no longer get his Social Security. And I got $1,000 of his retirement,
Oh, wow.
but I have an excellent STRS.
Mhm.
And we have 4 properties. One of them has a barn with 5 lots, so I pay over $600 a month in property
Wow.
taxes. When he was alive, we got money back from the state and federal. When he died, I paid. So I'm thinking,
Wow.
they must have thought he ate a lot.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
it is. It's just, but yeah, they,
But from Texas, there's that big hospital down there in Houston,
MD Anderson.
and it's got that, if, the principal from the vocational school had gone there, they could have probably saved his life. Chris Burrows.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Now,
that's a whole story.
my,
itself.
my granddaughter's husband went there to study cancer urology. He's a doctor at UK. They paid off all of his student loans,
Mhm.
so they must have some money there. Isn't that amazing?
Well, what I wonder is, and I'm not, I didn't, the article, I remember reading about this when I was reading about this state income tax proposal. I wondered, okay, what is the state just sales tax?
Mm.
You know, do they make it up in part from sales tax? And, you know, and then are they, you know, cause you know that when they're trying to entice businesses, they're usually giving them incentives, but
Right.
at some point in there, is there something back in there that they?
They have to make up for it somehow.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
right.
And
exactly
it's
what
like,
they
I
do.
don't know where
It's too good to be
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
somewhere, somehow, yeah, it's gonna come back around.
It's the government is just.
But
There's
it's-
something,
right.
you know, like with the 401k in Edward Jones. Like if you had over 300,000, when that big drop several years ago, nothing was ever made up for that.
Mm-mm.
We never got any of that money back.
Yeah.
So, so OLC does remind us to keep in mind that, this is a big election year, so there's, who knows what's going to be happening. And the sponsors of these bills, actually said that they'll be hosting a series of town hall meetings around the state to discuss their plans. So you might want to just keep an eye out for if and when that actually happens, or does it die before it, you know, do they die before they get anywhere? So that might be the case too.
All right, move on to reports, financial report, Sarah.
The first report is the appropriation summary report, and if you can recall in years past, this report was much smaller. I want to kind of explain what you're looking at now versus what we used to see. You know, we had to change all the accounting codes, for reporting purposes, so normally everything was under library services, which was 100. Now we have lots of other codes, so when I talk about salaries and fringe benefits, I have to look in multiple categories. So library services, public service and programs, collection, development and processing, support services, we have all kinds of categories now, it's just been lots of, hasn't it, Lynn?
It has been lots of, yeah, so, you know, and unfortunately, this report doesn't, it doesn't make it really obvious
Right.
what these categories
You're just seeing,
are.
you're just seeing salaries in
lists.
several different places and
Yeah.
things like that, so, as we move forward, I think you'll understand it a little bit more, so, so let's just dive right in, appropriation summary reports. I'm comparing December to January, even though we're almost to the end of February. Going fast. So total salaries, no, I didn't, I have to write that down now because it used to be right there.
Right
So
there,
I'm gonna jump to the cash summary report so I can see exactly the total. So the total for salaries was 66,704.84. We were down $10,000 compared to December, and a lot of that was, that retention reward that we paid out. And
I
think-
see, because it's divided
Yes,
45 and
yes, it
19.
used to be all in
I
one
see it, yeah. I
nice
see
little
what you're talking
category.
about,
Now it jumps all around. So I'm looking at the cash summary at the same time as the appropriations. Because when I was putting this together, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to jump all over the place. Down for salaries versus, December. Employee benefits, was 16,965. That was up, 1,765 compared to December. Purchase and contracted services, we were down 3,798. That total was,
$12,811. And then library materials, we were down $6,989. We paid a lot more stuff in December than we did in January because we were learning the new system and how to code things and how to charge things. And so you'll see in February, I'm sure that number will pick back up.
You
So
said cash summary, or you're looking at the cash flow?
I'm looking at the cash flow. summary.
Okay, all right, cause I'm looking at going,
No.
why would you get summaries?
I'm
on that
sorry,
stuff?
I'm looking at the cash
Okay,
flow.
thank you, thank you.
Under
The-
general
the
fund expenditures,
Yes.
I have all the totals that I found on this
Yeah.
report, so.
Yeah.
I'll get better at this when I get more used to this report as well, so sorry, Lynn.
No,
Um,
this is minor struggle versus what we've been, going through.
So general fund month to date was $106,114.39 down, compared to December, down $19,350. Last page of this monster report now. You'll see month to date, the middle column, all funds, $116,996.65. So this was for January compared to February, we were down 12,426. Retired yet? Bank reconciliation report for the month of January, receipts 108,253. That include the PLF of 69,800. We received some reimbursements from the Ohio Board of Education. That was 26,642. And then I received all the law library lease agreements for 7,280. So that's kind of how I'm backing into that number.
What page are you looking at right now?
I'm looking at the bank reconciliation. I'm looking at receipts and I just kind of jotted down what those.
Oh, right here, okay, I was confused with it.
Payments for January, $117,046.29. We had one little adjustment for $16.50 from the Bureau of Workers' Comp. They sent us $16.50. Take it where we can get it, but. Moving on to outstanding payments, I have one outstanding payment still from December from the Swan Library Consortium.
Of course.
You have a contact for them? I've emailed, I've called,
Gail?
I've emailed her several times, no response. Are they going out of business?
Her mother lives with her and she's not young. Gail's not young.
Yeah, I've seen
Gail's
her
not-
picture,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and I know they don't have a physical location.
Correct.
But they want checks, and so where it's going, I'll be surprised if that doesn't.
Age out.
I really hope for this. So that, January, I haven't looked recently, it's been a day or two, but I think Cincinnati Enquirer was the only. Not too worried about that. Now I'm looking at the cash summary fund.
Okay.
So expenditures column, a little bit farther than halfway. I already mentioned this number, $116,996.65. That was the total expenditures for January. Cash, general fund cash flow. Normally for the month that I'm working with, I get rid of that word estimated and put actual, so I missed that. There's so much I have to do on this to start a new year, so I've updated it on my side, so sorry about that. Public library fund, I already mentioned, 69,823 cents. Services provided to other entities, that was at 7,200, wow, 7,280. Other receipts that we brought in, $1,857.85, bringing our total general revenue, $78,938.08. And then the expenditures, I've already mentioned all of those from that first report. So our cash balance for general at the end of January, $713,917.06. So you'll notice under, this just ripped, the public library fund at the top, those were all estimates that the state had brought in. So like you'll notice for February, their estimated amount was 90,328. And then we brought in 87,000. So pretty darn close. Yeah. Next report is the January 2024 expenditure reconciliation.
Payments, $32,808.94. You'll see those two payrolls. That first payroll had like several extra days. It was a big one for January. 38,719. The January 30th, 31,949. Board share OPERS retirement was $9,691. Board share Medicare, $993. Board share health, $4,844. You'll see the local taxes. And then out of pocket for employee health was $1,206, bringing that total January expenditures, $116,996.65.
See how fast that can go.
Yeah, it all adds up. It's like balancing your check. Payment, listing, there wasn't really anything crazy, for January. Does anybody have any questions about any of the payments that I made? Fund summary report. Open POs currently is $90,117.14. You'll see most of that is in the general fund, $87,536. A little bit in the tech, $2,541, and just a small little bit in the ODLA, the LAO one, so $38.
Numbers.
I know. Okey dokey.
So I need a motion to accept financial investment reports, approve the bills, and accept donations.
I'll move.
Second,
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tina.
yes.
All right, next, we need a motion to approve appropriation of previously unappropriated funds in the amount of $150,000 into Fund 4006 Georgetown renovations for costs associated with the purchase of 204 West Grant and into the individuals broken down as shown.
You want me to explain those account line numbers?
Yeah, those are our new numbers.
Those are our new numbers. Yeah, well, the nice thing is, so when we've been talking about how the codes have changed, that those first three digits in that three digit, 4-digit series, that's what's changed, and that's why it's breaking out those reports in different ways. 760, you'll see that all those four account lines, those expenditure account lines, all start with 760, and those are capital expenditures. So it classifies them so that when we sort at the end of the year, it can go, oh, how much did you spend in the big category of capital stuff? That's what it sorts on, is 760. 379, that very first line, that's for legal fees, that's professional fees, so that's gonna be our attorney costs. The 390 line is other contracts, so that kind of is all other whatever it might take if we have to spend up to that $150,000. The 720 line is land improvement, so that's our demolition. And then 730 is for buildings, so that's our actual property cost. So that's why the money's split out that way, so that we can actually put those funds into those account lines and be able to spend it. But yeah, this is not money we've taken from anywhere else. It was just money that's sitting there in our accounts that we decide we're not going to say we're gonna spend it, because situations like that.
So I'm assuming 390 would be for the renovation of the land, like seeding, filling in dirt.
Could be, yeah, any of that, if we can't get the trust to do, the Shelton Trust to do anything, then that will be, I don't know yet, because I have consciously chosen not to do anything with the demolition people or until we know this is done, right? Until we know it's a done deal. So I don't know if part of his thing is he just gonna flatten it, or will he seed it for us?
Gotcha. We don't know what he's gonna contract us.
If he can do it, that can pay one person. Might just tell him, go ahead and seed it too.
What's still left in the process for everything to be finalized?
So I exchanged emails with our attorney yesterday. I said, status update, and he said, we're waiting on the underwriting for the title insurance. So that's where we are with this. Survey is being done by the owner or seller, so it's, yeah, we're just kind of,
Oh, the stakes are there. I saw them yesterday,
Okay.
Monday, saw them Monday.
all right, so.
Yeah.
So it's progressing.
Mhm. Is there a drop dead close date transferred?
No, there is not. They asked us about that and I said, listen, if we can get everything done before I leave for Vermont, I'll say,
Right.
whatever. But
Just
I
waiting.
said, as soon as you guys can do everything and they work with, our attorney on a regular basis, so they're in contact.
Yeah.
So I said, we're ready. We figure out what we have to do on our end to cut the check. So they just have to tell us.
And our attorney will record the deed and all that good
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, I move.
Oh,
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Kathleen,
Yes,
Tracy,
yes.
Barb,
yes.
Kate.
Yes.
And now a motion to approve the 2024 permanent appropriations.
Okay, going on. So in November, we essentially looked at the same thing, so we could set up the temporary ones and be allowed to legally spend money first of the year. And then I'm not sure what the drop dead date for the auditor's office is, but we have to have the permanents in
I think it's early April.
early April. So we usually in February say, okay, we're probably gonna change something anyway, so let's just go ahead and make it permanent. So what I do, and I'm just gonna pick out a couple of places where there are some significant changes. I take a look at, we've now had, if we did this in November, we didn't know what actual end of year numbers were. So I update it with the end of year numbers. And so you've got a new number on this very first page that says revenue plan. This is for our general fund. And I bumped up the interest, a little bit. It was originally 20,000, I think, and I bumped it up to 25,000 based upon where we came in. And our actual carryover was 753,000. I think originally I said it at 700,000 even. So we have a little over $2.5 million, of available funds. And then the next two pages are actually the line by line off general fund expenditures. The only changes that I did to this were, we had a line in the 351 line, the rents and leases had $10,000 in it for potentially leasing office space. But I just moved that into 379 for professional services, and if we hire a consultant, that's starting of money to pay. Not that that's gonna limit us to whatever we decide to contract, but at least I didn't want to change the bottom line expenditures at this point, so I just kept it the same amount of money. And then you can see on the second page of that, I didn't do anything else to any of those numbers. Partially because we're still figuring out those program codes and where's the money has to be maybe moved around and massaged. But you can see that our bottom line, our anticipated carryover into the next year is targeted for a little over $500,000. And right now our minimum fund balance is 350,000. We need to officially move it up, to, I think, $400,000, but we're still covered that way. So everything balances, we're good with the general fund.
Now,
Go ahead.
if we get this foundation money, will that have to be added into here, or will you still keep that separate?
Great question. So what happens is all the rest of your goldenrod pages are special funds.
So it will have its
So it'll
own
have
sheet.
its own sheet. You have got this.
You have got this.
Alright.
We will add a special sheet
Just
just
for
for the
that.
whatever we call it fund. And you know, for all of these other pages, I did the same thing. I went and looked and said, oh, what was the actual carryover in that account? And so I updated those as I needed to. There wasn't anything in that Purdon fund that needed to be looked at. The next one that I actually made a change to is way back. So at the top, you'll see they all have start with 2024 because that's the year, right? And then there's a name for the fund. So the one that says ODELAL and it parentheses 2010 because that's the number of the fund. That one, I did update a bit and you'll see that at the bottom, there's a negative number. Okay. That is because we need to make sure that we spend every penny of that grant. And we had transferred in $75,000 of our general money into there. So even if we spent every penny of the grant, we would have $75,000 that we'd have to transfer back out. You can see that in the line that says 910 transfer. I want us to overshoot. I'd rather transfer back $73,000 and know that we have spent every penny of that $250,000 grant that we got. So that's why I structured it this way to show that we had a negative. Now, obviously, we're not going to do a negative when it comes to it. But yes, we are gonna try to be as close to the penny as we can, but we are not going to send any money back to the state. That is my goal, money back to the state, and if it means we spend a little of our own, well then, that's what we're gonna do. The next one that I changed was the Georgetown renovation, and that's got the 4,006, that's the fund number there. I put in all those things you just approved. I put in the $5,000 for the legal fees. I put in the 20,000 for the demo. I put in the 110 plus for the purchase of the property. And then the other, I think it was 14,000 something on that you just approved. That actually got added because I already had $5,000 in other contracts just for other purposes. And so that's added to that 391. So that's reflected here, what you just approved. And then the Shelton Trust, the very last page, that I actually updated as well. There had been about $30,000 in that, in their holdings, but, we are trying to help them since they can't seem to legally get this resolved, by having them pay for some projects at the Nosy building, and they're putting some awnings over some upstairs windows that have been very troublesome and leaky. And so, I've just been showing less money actually being transferred into that account. If it so happens that they actually dissolve that and send us a check when we least expect it. So.
I've been working on that for a couple of years.
Yeah,
It's been on the golden rod for like 3 years.
I was gonna say 2 minimum, probably more, yeah.
I think at the end of.
Is
So-
there any way to get rid of like this Paramount and
Yes, the Paramount
Millicron?
is, I thought it was going to all be spent at the end of last year.
Okay.
But in our transition, it did not, so that's what I
It
said.
hadn't all
was-
been appropriated and it's just easier to keep $73.
Yes.
But maybe we'll get rid of it this year.
Yeah.
Oh, we will.
Yeah,
I
as soon as they
told
buy
them that they would be
And she
spent.
said in Millicron, is that where?
Oh, that's
Millicron-
ongoing.
That's on.
That's-
So we get 1,000 every year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's not gonna go
I
away.
think it gives more.
Oh, no, I think last year they gave us 1,200 and we're hoping that we keep that relationship with us and they keep having by inviting them to help us with like a big night, get their name all over it. It's really.
Yeah.
motivated.
Good PR for that. Yeah. So that's what is in front of us, and there will be changes as the year goes through.
You won't see Paramount anymore.
Yeah.
That's your last time.
It's going.
I'm a dollar person, like the amount of time spent in salary
Yeah.
to do the paperwork far exceeds the $73 that it's worth.
Yes, it does.
So I would write that off as my billing 73 hours to create this, done.
All right.
Does Brooke know about that 73?
Yes, she does.
Okay, good.
I told her already. I said, that's the first thing that needs to go, yeah.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve the payment appropriations, 2024 payment appropriations?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, your names are going on.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
All right, and now to the executive director's report. Building report and statistics.
She got green. We have no Mark to say, hey, Heather.
He might prefer to have been here doing that.
Yeah, well,
actually.
you might have, yes. Who knows? Anybody have any questions about any of those things? I noticed that, for the Georgetown Library, the Mary P. Shelton Library, they had mentioned that one of their successes with tutoring, and that applies to, I think, all the branches, really. I mean, Heather is seeing more and more requests for the service, and, you know, we're looking at, oh, how do we bring on some more people? But the service really is gonna be ending at the end of the summer, so there's a balance. There's a balance. And here, you have the neat Boredom Buster game night, and I love the fact that the Brown County-opoly was a thing. Of course, we bought the free parking space for the library, so on the
Okay.
game, that's
really
the
cool.
free information is that, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, so. So we will.
Well, I went to, actually Pierce, Kevin and I all went to the Holocaust
Did you?
speaker at Sardinia, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
She
That's what
was,
I heard.
she was so good, and I want Pierce to learn about that stuff, and he was like, he's 13, and he was like enthralled, like she was very, she was really good. She did a great job,
Yeah.
so I don't wanna say we enjoyed it, but we enjoyed her and her knowledge and the
Yeah.
experience, yeah, she did a great
Yeah,
job.
and definitely not a fun thing, but so important.
Very important,
To learn about.
very important, yeah.
Unless anybody has anything else, do you have anything you want to say about building? Statistics, I really didn't make any notes on, the statistics for January, you know, we're starting out a new year. It's really difficult to compare it to prior year totals at this point in time. January can be a very slow month, but, you know, as I looked at some of the numbers, I thought, yeah, you know, that's kind of right on track where we should be. But, you know, there's very little consistency month to month in the library because of cycles and different things that we do, so, yeah, there wasn't really anything that jumped out at me other than that, you know, if you're looking at what's been discarded from the collections, you know, January is kind of usually a regrouping month, but Sardinia got right on a weeding list and kept up with getting rid of, thanks to Heather, right? Nudging, doing some nudging.
You cleaned house.
Yeah, well, Heather so what we did during this transition with, you know, between when Amber left and before appointing someone, Heather oversaw Sardinia, you know, was the point person for their staff, and then Tanya did that for Fayetteville, and so I think that was one of the things that,
What I noticed. Yeah, there we go. We taken care of.
yes, took care of that, so. Yeah, you know, just a shout out to the staff from both of those buildings for stepping up and learning to do new things, and actually, I was really proud of them for reaching out and asking questions, and, you know, that was a little bit of a surprise, because sometimes there's some reticence, you know, to ask or say, hey, I don't know how to do this, because they think they should know how to do it, and, I was really pleased with that. Do you want me to go on?
So let's go on
To
to
announcements,
announcements.
all right, so, facilities things, so, this month, it's public restrooms and leaky
Right.
toilet mechanisms. I, you know, why, but there are four between our four branches. There are four that, Porter Construction is taking care of, repairing those, and we're also having him do light bulb, light bulb, sorry about that. The business office is so bright, you should need wear shades.
It's now a tanning bed.
Is it like fluorescent, like
Oh my
fluorescent
gosh,
bulb?
the first few days I had a massive headache. when I-
Oh, wow.
So it was a big difference.
I think they're LED light bulbs.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
So they're.
I walked in, everybody had the same reaction, whoa, because we
We didn't realize it was so dark. in
we
there.
probably only had half the light bulbs working out.
Come out with a nice tan.
Yeah.
And getting our vitamin D.
Yeah, we did.
No
Um,
sand this winter, right?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. So, also annual fire inspections are coming up. We usually do that in March of every year. So, and I mentioned the fact that the Shelton Trust is going to be, covering the cost to do the awnings over. It's, it's just one of those things, it's the second floor, so there's no protection from, trees or other buildings or anything. And the way the weather comes, and so when it's raining, there's just no fixing those, that water, so, they're putting in awnings. And the really neat thing is that, so Mr. Ludi, who is a former trustee, is also in charge of the Shelton Trust. He's one of the trustees. And he had the same company do some awnings for him. So when we had reached out to M&R Construction to do them, and then said, we need to give this proposal to Mr. Ludi to see if they're okay with it, he said, oh, well, they'll do a fantastic job. If Mr. Ludi is very particular about his house and so if he's happy, we are not going wrong with this. So I was thrilled about that. Community engagement report that was actually included in your packets, that were mailed or in the Dropbox. And, we did have, Ashley step up and Dawn and Cheryl step up, to do some of the, organizations that Amber had covered. So, I think they've each attended one meeting at least. So, getting them involved with that, which is really cool. Heather, anything that any of yours are doing that you want that's important to bring up, or?
Could I ask a question? I belong to the book club. So I have a Kindle. And if the book is in small print at my age, but they aren't seem to download it on Hoopla, or what is the other one? Because it's like 2 months out. Well, we've got to read the book, and
Right.
so I would just wind up buying it on Amazon.
Well, if you have suggestions and you see that there's a lot of holds, let Brooke know. So, because what I do when I work on our overdrive orders here, the first thing I do is pull the holds requesting list and the ones that have the most, because as you guys know, ebooks they're not the cost for us that they are for you on Kindle. Like Kindle, you can buy it for like $15. For
Yeah.
us, it's like $85.
Yeah.
So I go through and I look at all the ones that have a bunch of holes, like the top one, I think.
And I
was-
just thought, well, if I don't take it,
Yeah,
looks like I'd be able to get it on my Kindle.
yeah, just let her know and she can try to add it.
I'm
to
not
the collection.
complaining, I just wondered if there's,
The trick is ask your library staff member what kind of a workaround there is to
But I'll
get
tell
it.
you what. The last two books we've read have really, remarkably bright creatures about
Yeah.
that was wonderful. But this last one, I started reading and it was all the broken pieces about the Holocaust.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I got like several chapters and I thought, am I reading about two people? I went back, started over again. It goes back and forth with the
dialogue.
girl. And then I thought, that little boy. And then I looked, there's a book before it. The Boy in the Pajamas.
Oh, I didn't know
Boy in the
that.
striped pajamas.
Oh,
That will
I
break
didn't
your
know that.
heart.
I haven't heard
Oh,
that.
I
That-
saw that
that-
movie for the
And the
first.
movie.
That's just heartbreaking.
It is.
And people, how long ago was that? They said, there was no Holocaust. Remember that?
Oh, There's still people.
Oh,
who-
there's.
Oh,
still
I know,
going
isn't that
on.
sad?
It is.
But that book is, it'll grab you.
Well,
And some people.
Right. If there's nothing else about the community engagement report, I'll talk about some of the funding things going on. So the grant, the $250,000 from the Department of Education, we're at the point now in the cycle where we're gonna be starting to advertise for our summer interns. So that will be coming out, and then I mentioned, we haven't set a firm cutoff date for tutoring, but we're going to have to do that so that our tutors can plan, and our students can plan and all of that. I expect probably the 1st of August is when we'll say, that service is done. We still do not know anything about the Appalachian Community Grant.
Can I ask a
Or,
quick question?
Yes,
Sorry
go
to go
ahead.
back. How old do you have to be an intern?
15 is
The minimum 15.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just think,
yeah.
in case anybody at school, the
Yeah.
high school is interested, I'll kind of put a bug
We-
up there.
We try to target juniors and seniors in high school and maybe a freshman in college, just because we're trying to really get them prepared for work, and that's more of a level where we can do more
Right,
for them, and we actually get some of the benefit of them working too. But we did have one, I can't remember, Zane was 4.
I think Zane's 14 or 15. I know
And
Zane
that was a special, it was a 5-hour a week
Mhm.
kind of, it was very much connected to the fact that we had a manager on staff who could really
Yeah,
work with that. So 15 is the target,
Okay.
15 and above. Good question. So yeah, Appalachian Community Grant Program, we don't know anything, they said the earliest would be the end of January, we're 3 weeks after the end of January. And we know that the whole program has taken much longer, every phase of it has taken much longer than they anticipated. So I'm not really concerned about it, we've got enough other stuff going on right now. That I don't need to worry about, have you done anything yet? Have you done anything? Yeah, we'll let it ride on their timeline. We already talked about the foundations accounts and that we're going to need to establish some guidelines, and I'll start working on a potential list of ideas, and that's something we will need to do. I suspect we will probably need to do it next month because the check should be coming in. And then the last one on the list, we had actually applied for this, by the time we had a meeting last month, and just got notice that we got the award, for the books, buying the Ohio Book Award books. So kudos to Heather for coordinating that and getting it all submitted. And fortunately, this is going to be a very easy, it's a reimbursement one, but we can only buy books with it. So we can receipt it in as a grant in our regular operational funds, and we'll probably be making one single payment to a book vendor. So we don't have to set up one of those special funds that's more paperwork than it's worth. It's very short, there's one report that's due, right, so it will be nice, yeah, good. And then the other, big thing is number 5 on that list, where there's been nothing normal in the last couple of years, what am I talking about, right? We have, in the last several years, used our March Staff Development Day, and we've done them in individual branches. We may have done repeat sessions, so all branches got at least one session that was the same, but then let them do it on their own. But because we kind of had a snafu in November, and half of us were
Oh,
ill,
yeah, I remember.
and we've got new staff members now. We decided we would have it all together in March. So we're going to do it all together. We're gonna be back at the Church of Christ here in Mount Orab. And actually, Our two new managers are gonna be doing a session together. They have a chance to present in front of all of the staff, and they're gonna be doing the Google Calendar session. And we've got, we're gonna be doing censorship. And we'll have breakout sessions where our staff members can look at our collection development policy and understand what we say we're gonna buy, so they can use that as a tool for helping patrons understand. And also, we're going to have another breakout session where they're going to be working on scripts to respond when patrons, approach them, so they don't feel like they always have to turn and say, you need to talk to the manager about this. So it should be a good day, and we're gonna do a taco bar, which has gone over really well in the past.
Is there anything that, to the board that we could do as something to show our appreciation to them at the staff day? I don't know if there's something we could do for them. Like,
What you have in mind?
I
Yeah,
don't know. Like buy ice cream for them
I was
or
thinking
something?
candy,
Yeah.
cookies.
A cake, a cake.
What did you say?
Burritos.
It goes on the tacos. I might just show up. Yeah.
I think there's some very specific language in the contract with the church that says no alcohol.
No
So,
alcohol.
Yeah.
I did
Sheet cake. Yeah, sheet cake.
Could do a sheet cake.
Or would it be easier to do into something like cookies, pop,
Cupcake.
pop, what are those pops,
Cake
cake
pops.
pops or,
Yeah, yeah.
just because sometimes it's funny, but I have seen so many times where you have a sheet cake and everybody's kind of backs up and, but you do something that just seems like it's small individual, well, sure, I'll take one.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah,
walk by and
two,
grab it.
three.
Yeah.
And then I come back for three.
right,
Yes.
right.
What everybody
But
needs.
somehow it's
So
like, if
nobody
you
knows
try
what-
to hand them a piece of cake on a
Yes,
plate, they're like,
yes.
oh, no, I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah,
It
I would
makes
say
sense.
that the individual size thing, yeah, yeah, I mean.
How would we do that? Like,
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I suppose there are two options, right? The option is, if you all want to contribute to something, you can give us money and we can buy it through the library and then make sure that we do something to let them all know that this is courtesy of board members. And that would be just an individual, whatever you felt like and we would get it and give it to them. Or you can all make stuff and bring it here and we can take it over there. I mean,
I'd rather just.
I'd
like,
rather just
give you-
donation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if we all pitch in like, what, $10
I
each?
do,
I do.
yeah.
I
do.
don't, but I can give cash.
Yeah.
I can give cash right now,
Okay,
like $10.
yeah, what, I would say maximum
Yeah.
$10.
And then you guys can buy it.
Okay,
And just say this is
I'm not
appreciation
hearing
from the
things.
board.
So we thought we'd turn the water off to it the other day, so maybe somebody turned it back on.
What's that?
The water, yeah, it was dripping. the
And
other
yeah, I was
day.
gonna say, it wasn't dripping when I closed the thing, but maybe that jiggled it just enough.
It's just been in the last few minutes, it's like, all of a sudden I feel like I was listening, I kept thinking I was hearing something.
When I was reading the financials, I was dripping out of it. I'm like, what in the world?
I would have never heard that.
While we had this little break, we were talking about all the Holocaust stuff.
Yeah.
There's a movie that came out in 1997 called A Beautiful Life, and if you haven't seen it, it is
I think I've heard of that.
beautiful and beautiful.
Didn't it win an Oscar?
Oh, it won lots of awards.
Okay, I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's worth it.
I feel like I did, but it's
You can
so
stream
long.
Yeah. it's a
Yeah.
long time. All right,
Is it on
do you guys,
Netflix?
I mean, I don't wanna like volunteer you
I
guys
would
to
say
go.
anybody who wants to.
Yeah, anybody
Yeah.
that wants to. Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I was in England when, Phantom of the Opera came out and I saw
Let's see
the
if I can
original
catch
when
that.
it was over there. But when I saw the movie with Gerard Butler, it was so much better. I bet I
I
saw
have
that
7 right now,
play
we can give you the
9
rest
times.
next time.
Whatever
And when I saw the
works,
movie,
yeah.
I didn't care about seeing the
I
play.
really carry cash.
Because it told the entire life of him.
Oh, that's nice.
We'll have the.
So if you haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah.
We'll check it out.
You may just wait.
Yeah, if you wanna do that, yeah,
Tells all
so,
about
yeah.
his life as a little child.
Let me make a note to myself so I don't forget.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to bring in $5 or $10 next month
Every time I buy one.
I'm gonna send you some.
in March, we're gonna do it in
Or,
March.
or if you wanna do it now, I mean, that's
Oh,
fine. 'cause
okay, I can do it then. I'll still have money in my bank account.
I don't know how to then.
I missed that.
She said, well, we're gonna wait and give donations next month, because our
okay.
next meeting will be before
For the staff.
Okay.
the staff development
Yeah.
day.
And then you can make a little sign or something that compliments of.
Well, I was gonna say, or, you know, I think maybe a card or something that we. can
Thanks
bring
for, thanks to all of you, or,
Yeah,
we appreciate you,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Do you
We-
have a card or do you want me to bring a card?
if you wanna bring a card, that'd be
That'd be
fabulous.
great.
Bring a card.
That
Was
would-
M&R the same company that did the finish work on the children's? They did a
Yes.
great
They did a
job.
great job.
I remember that,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, good question. Okay, I don't have any other
Okay,
announcements.
so no committees have met since our last meeting, so censorship in public life.
So shortly after the last board meeting, both Tracy and Tabitha, reached out to me with some, leads on some censorship related things going on. I will say that the one that, Tabitha had given, I didn't print it out because when you go online to the NEA newsletter or what, there was no way I could get it to print pretty, you know, those electronic documents, sometimes they don't, yeah, so I do apologize, but I gave you the link. And that one was actually about, in Iowa, the teachers union actually advocated, along with, I think, some publishers as well, to block, a state law banning books in kindergarten, in K through 12 schools. I mean, so at the state level, they had put out some kind of a big blanket ban. That included things like the color purple, and I can't remember the other ones that fell into their banning, language. But, you know, it's pretty cool that the, you know, teachers union, you know, joined forces and the judge ruled that, you know, they blocked that law, so that was really neat. And then I did copy the one that Tracy had, referred me to about the, bill in Illinois actually protecting library workers, there are other governmental and public employees that were included, but it specifically mentioned library workers and protecting them from harassment, threats, disorderly conduct. So I thought that was really neat. Now, that wasn't necessarily specifically about book banning, but of course, people can get really rowdy when it comes to censorship, and it can come as, you know, those behaviors can come as a result of censorship activities. So, but yeah, threats and false reports, you know, and to me, one of the big issues was that it made it very clear that it didn't matter what method of communication was used to make these threats or to harass. It didn't matter if it was in person or by telephone or social media or email, because one of the cases that has been in front of the Supreme Court was about public employees, you know, you just have to take it if somebody wants to call you on the phone and harass you and that kind of thing, and that's had implications here at the local level, you know, for a while, in some cases that we might discuss later in executive session. But I thought that was really important that, you know, there was a state that came and said, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you do it, you can't do it. So, nice stuff. Thank you so much for the leads. Really appreciate that.
I was looking because on my Audible, there's actually a category for banned books. And I was going through some of these and I thought, this is ridiculous. Like, just
Why?
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 I don't have anything else to do.
Like, the
Personally
giver,
offensive, whatever.
the giver, like, how is that a banned book?
No,
I
So
just-
that was one of our library patrons' favorite things that we used to do was take these lists of banned books and we would bring it in and we would have a bookmark inside of it that explained, you know, this book was banned and say why.
Right.
And they were like fascinated by all of the
Yeah.
reasonings behind some of
It's
the books.
ridiculous.
You know,
Really
The
good
Giver.
idea.
that was one of my favorite books to read
I love
when
it.
I was a teacher.
Yeah,
And when soccer first came to like Mount Orab, because I spent 29 years there, the kids couldn't go out at recess because they were tiling the field.
Mm.
So there were like 9 boys that nobody would take. And I was in the library then, so I said, okay, I'll take them. And I read The Giver,
mm,
and you would be shocked at how they got into it. By the end of that book, one of the worst behaved boys in that school was crying.
yeah, it's
And
it's
when the movie
amazing.
came out, I took my grandson to see it. He absolutely loved
It's a
it.
great movie.
And I said, you know, it looks like there'd be a sequel to that. He says, Grandma, there's 2 more books.
Told you, huh?
Wow. All right, motion to approve disposal of property.
Right, yellow.
I'll
Sorry about
move.
that.
Second,
Kathleen,
Yes.
Tracy,
yes.
Barb,
Yes,
Tina.
Yes.
we've actually talked about number
We
9.
did, yes, yep, I wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about it, so I thought I'd put it on this one, but yep, I think we know what our strategy is for that, so that's good.
Okay, so now I need a motion to enter executive session to consider the employment of public employees and the purchase of property.
So moved.
I'll second.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Barb, or Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Okay, no, I